Thank you for tuning in to Push Live. You are here at Push Outreach Ministry, spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ as far as it can go. Welcome, welcome to our site. We are so excited and happy about what the Lord is doing. It rained, it lightened, it thunder, but you know what? I really enjoyed it. It had been so warm in the earth, and God just sent some rain to cool it off. It was just wonderful. But I'm still here at Push Outreach Ministry, and I began to write some of my programs in reference to our youth department and the youth program that's coming up July 9th. So if you haven't registered your children, we want you to come and visit us 4542 Rayford Road in the blessed city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's because they have not been taught. But I will say this, that there is some things that the children can do, and there's some things that the parents can do. One thing that the children can do when they're in school, this is part of our school-friendly workshop. The one thing they can do is not to repeat a rumor. Rumors, sometimes children hear things and they begin to start whispering and telling their friends and telling their buddies and so forth. But that's one of the things that we can tell our children not to do, because we don't want to pull triggers, and we don't want to be bullying, just upsetting everyone. So we have to be very careful. So this is things that children can do. It's not to carry rumors, to start repeating things that somebody else has said and so forth, And number two, it says to not to say things derogative, joking around and so forth. You dare to go to school, and you're supposed to be doing your work, and you're supposed to be learning. So saying things, derogative, and sometimes kids are joking around, and so we should teach them and tell them that, it's not funny, especially when they're making remarks about other children. We should be kind to one another, and then sometimes we see others picking on others' children, and we standing by and not saying nothing. And I think that's wrong. I think you should tell an adult, if there's an adult around, or the teacher, or and sometimes if it's a friend, then sometimes you can say to your friend, you shouldn't do that. And it's not nice. You treat people the way you want to be treated. So that's another way we can do it. You can call different children and talk to them privately and tell them why they're doing this, and a lot of times children are going through things at home. Many times children are going through things at home and cause them to act out or say things that they shouldn't, and they pick at other children, and because they don't understand, kids, they don't understand, and we have to teach them. So not only that, then we have intervention on the behalf of the target by telling an adult standing with other against the bully, or stepping in alone against the bully. So, like I said, many times we standing there and we just being, spectators, and we not doing anything about it. So sometimes we can prevent uh, the bullying and the teasing and the triggers and unkind words. And I want to say to the parents, this is good for the parents, because it's up to the parents how they teach their children. The Bible tells us to teach our children. We have to teach them. And, especially with name calling people out of their name and stuff, you should always use their proper name, or, or the name that, they ask you to call them. You shouldn't be calling people out their name and making, accusation and saying things that you shouldn't be saying. You don't want nobody to do that to you. Also, the next thing, is hitting. You don't want to be hitting nobody. You don't want to get in nobody's space. Everybody have their own space. Everybody should have their own space. You should never be up in somebody's face, unless it's an arm length space, Many times, to me, you're violating my space. You can talk to me from arm length. And so we have to teach our children, arm length. Don't let people get all up on you like that and trying to talk to you, but to give you your space. You're entitled to your space. Okay. We want to also tell the parents too that, your children ages 8, 9, and 10, they start going into puberty and hygiene. You must teach them the hygiene. When they get up in the morning, they got to take a shower, wash or whatever, before coming to school. They have to have the hygiene, to put on a little deodorant, brush their teeth, and little ladies, the little girls, comb your hair. Because most time kids look at other kids and they see that their hair is not done and they pick at them, oh, you didn't comb your hair today? You got stuff all in your hair. And then, kids get offended and, because a lot of times they think you're nasty, you're dirty, and and they feel like you have a lot of germs. So, parents, you got to teach your children. You got to teach your children their clothes got to be clean and neat. Don't send your kids no school or no camping or nothing. They all dirty, and their clothes has a smell to a stink to it. Don't do that. Don't do that. That starts bullying too. That cause other children to pick at other children because they may not be as fortunate as the other child, but at least you can be clean and smell good. So no one should be offended by it. And a lot of times, you're not getting your children up on time, on time. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Prepare your children. Lay their clothes out the night before. Have their lunch, ready if they're gonna take their lunch. Don't wait till the last minute and then here come the bus and then they trying to get dressed and they put on clothes that they don't no telling took out the dirty clothes basket or they got their own stuff and you haven't even looked at them to see how they look when they went out the door. Please don't do that. Please do not do that, parents, because a lot of parents do that. And and children, you said, well, they get up to a certain age, they should be able to do some things for themselves. Excuse me, that's true. But then teach them, you know, their hygiene. Teach them, their hair got to be combed. You could do their hair the night before. Excuse me, the daughter that I had custody of a little child, and she was about 6 years old, first grade, and I would do her hair over the weekend. She wanted certain styles and it took time, so you couldn't do it in a hurry in the morning. These when you start doing cornrows and putting beads in kids' hair and stuff like that, you can't wait to that day of or that you know to try to put beads and comb their hair and all that stuff. That stuff had to be prepared and be done ahead of time. And I used to like wait till Sunday night and I would wash her hair real good, and then she wanted beads in her hair. And when you get the hair done, the children's hair, especially little girl, their little hair done, and you put the beads in it, it's still fresh, the next day. It's still fresh. So when they go to school, it looks so neat and nice and clean. Now, you can't leave that stuff in their hair all week long and think that it's going to stay clean and then it's going to stay neat. It start coming apart. And then, you got, you know, it start having an odor. You don't want that. You do not want that. So we could stop a whole lot of triggers, a whole lot of bullying if we could teach our children to be friendly, to be nice, to treat others the way they want to be treated, be kind, to speak well, and not call people out of their name. That's another thing. And then the parents also, you could tell by children by their reaction how they feel. And most time when kids throw things down, they can have a piece of puzzle or something in their hand, and they could throw it down, and that's a sign right there letting you know they're frustrated about something. So it's good for you to take out the time and zero in onto that to see what's going on with that child. And then a lot of time when they slam doors and so forth, then we know that's the sound of anger. Also, uh, grabbing something from somebody else and not asking them, can I play with it or can I use it? You know, that's a sign, of jealousy most time, and you wish that you could play with it. You could play with it too, if you ask politely, or you say to the child, when you want to play with that game, or you want to look at that book, you know, wait till your turn, so you have to teach your children to prepare, and there's nothing wrong with saying you have to wait. You have to tell kids they have to wait. Somebody else is using that book, somebody else is using that game. We have to do that for our kids' sake. So they got to be kind. That's the one thing we got to show kindness to other children. We got to treat other children the way we want to be treated. I'm gonna say that over and over and over because it's not being done. And most time, if we sometimes we have to physically show them, physically and visual. Sometimes you telling them something, and sometimes we have to learn their learn style. Okay, their learning style. Their learning style. Some kids can learn by listening and pick up what you're saying. Some kids need visual, and you could talk to them all at the same time. And some kids just need visual only. Some kids you just got to show them what you're talking about. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the kids, and how kids, they could do so much better, and they could be so much better, and they could be so successful when they get of age, and they know how to treat somebody, know how to talk to somebody. When somebody give you something, you say thank you. You let people know when they did you something nice, or you give them a thank you card. You tell them I appreciate you. Thank you for what you did. Teach your children. You teach them, gratitude. You teach them to be thankful, and then be helpful. And one thing that we need to really teach our children to be servants in order to have to prevent a whole lot of jealousy and a whole lot of pride and stuff like that. If we teach our children to be servant, meaning if the teachers maybe want to pass out some books and stuff, you could pass out the book. I mean, when I was coming up as a child, and I wasn't a pet of the teacher, but sometime I went and helped her. I said I raised my hand, and I said I help you pass out the books, or I help you pass out the paper, or whatever, the pencils or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's teaching them how they can serve and not be selfish. To be selfish. So you have to teach your children to be selfish, not to be selfish. And that everything is mine, 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 mine. Especially when they get that age, they got that certain age. Well, from 2 to 3, we know we're not going to talk about them too much, but the ones when they start getting 4 and 5, 6, and up, because their little mind is not developed. So, but we could still repeat over and over and over. Sometimes we have to repeat rules and regulations to enforce them. And then you have to mean what you say. You have to mean what you say. You got to enforce. And sometimes you may have to, you got to let them know the boundaries, the limitation, the expectation, and the standards. You got to let children know. And you got to be consistent. You cannot say I'm a, you just can't make a promise to a child and then don't do it, don't follow through. You got to be consistent with the child. Be consistent, because that's the only way they learn, and then, they can be responsible. They could be responsible for their little action, So the things that, many times what we do here at Shekinah Glory, you know, we give them options, Well, we give you two options. You pick one or the other, you know, and most time they'll pick one of the options. And so you have to talk to children and give them direct contact, look them in their face and talk to them. Because most time they want you to talk to them. They're craving for attention anyway because they may not be getting attention at home, maybe for some other reason. Maybe mommy's tied up with this and she got other children. So, a lot of time kids want to be noticed, and you have to take out the time and notice and hear what they are saying, what they telling you. So you got to be persistent. You got to be consistent on everything with kids. And so you got to let them know the rules and the regulation. They got to know how to follow rules and regulations. You got to, before they go out in this world, they have to not wait till they're 16, 17, 18 years old. That's too late. You have to start teaching your children at the age of 3. When the cognitive skills kick in, then it's time for you to, talk to them, because it's going to have a lot to do with their social skills. And and most kids around that age, they always say it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. They always say it's theirs. Okay, so we got to teach them how to share with others, and then that we all have feelings, and we got to let kids know that you when you say something that's not nice, kids are listening, and you said, you don't want nobody to say that to you. You don't want to hurt nobody, and you know how you feel if somebody say something like that to you. So we got to teach our children, and parents, it's up to you. Honest to goodness, it is up to you. Parents, before your kids go out that door, it's totally up to you. You know how when they at home and they share at home, and how they react to your siblings, and how they react to one another, that's going to have a whole lot of effect when they get out of there and they come to school, or they come to camping or whatever, or they in the society. You got to teach them. You got to teach them love and respect and be kind. You know, those are the main things. Be kind. And then if somebody's being rude or being ugly to you, or saying something ugly, or bullying you, or teasing you, or joking, you don't like the joke, then you should tell somebody, a responsible parent, a teacher, or whoever is in charge, a supervisor, whatever. Just don't let the child, think that, well, you in school, and you know, that's it. you know, they have feelings too, and they have little problems too. So we're going to have to help them to resolve some of their problems. So I just want to say a little bit about that because it's important, and it was in my heart. I was sitting down here and I was writing out, some of the things, what we could teach our children, especially with bullying, teasing. And the one thing that God dropped in my heart was personal space. Teach them personal space, because sometimes people violate your space, and you have the right to your space. And then and some people just, if you don't tell them, if you don't teach them, they go about it the wrong way. And another thing that the Lord had dropped in my heart was the triggers. Sometimes they're pulling triggers, something you just don't say, even though it may come to your mind, but it's just some things you don't say, because if you say it, it may pull a trigger, you trigger, and cause something negative, derogative to come back at you. So you don't want to start a fight. So even with, I was working with children my last year of teaching. I had children that was in eighth grade, ninth grade, and I think 10th grade. And they tell you about the triggers. There's certain things you don't say because these children that I was dealing with, they had behavior problems, and the courts sent them there to so that they could take control of their behavior and so forth because they couldn't seem to uh, they couldn't seem like they couldn't get it together, or they couldn't get in school, without the triggers and so forth, and they was getting in a whole lot of trouble, a lot of fights and stuff like that, and they end up in court, and then the judge, sentence them, not to prison, but he'll sentence them to a place where they can learn behavior. So many times, triggers, you got to be careful how you say it, what you say, because there's always a way you could say something without pulling a trigger, without being nasty about it, without being ugly about it, But sometimes you're gonna have to learn that people have feeling, and to stay away from certain things. You just have to learn that. Stay away from certain things. With wrong company, wrong communication, it's just a whole lot to it, and you have to do because God holds us responsible for teaching our children, and that's also a ministry too. Ministry is being a wife, being a mother, and teaching your children. That's a ministry. That's a long time to have a ministry, because you get your children, and get them of age, and they graduate, and then they go to college, and then they still your babies, okay? So the thing about it is they're gonna constantly keep coming back to mommy and daddy. They're gonna keep coming back to their parents. So the only thing you can do is encourage them and tell them that they can, and and that they are, strong, and that God had blessed them, and they could do whatever they set their mind to do. So we just want to tell you that little tidbit because I was here at Push Outreach Ministry, and and so we just trying to get be prepared for our children coming. We love our children, and I especially love them at that age because that's the learning age. That's the age that you can make and mold children, and you can make them and mold them whatever you want it to be. And so that's where you start at. You don't wait till they get of age, 16, 17 years old, and then going to try to tell them something. No, no, you can't do that. You got to start at young age, very young. So we just thank God for you for tuning in, Push Live, and we hope you just come and join us, and come see us. Come see about us. Check us out. Amen. We at 4542 Rayford Road in this blessed city of Fayetteville, and I'm excited about what God is doing. So we thought we'd share that because sometimes, we forget things. I mean, I know sometimes I forget things, but sometimes it's good to be reminded. So we love you tonight, and we just thank God for you, and you, and and we just pray that God will continue to bless you and your family, and you just enjoy your week. We love you, and God bless you, and may heaven smile upon you. Bye.